everybody. Welcome to Toward a Quality of Life. We're here in the month of February, year 2012. And today I'm going to talk to you about things in your environment. I mean real environment, like food and water and products that we use and so forth, that I've not spoken about in a long time because politics has been such an urgent mission. Supplanting most everything else since 2009, really. But today, here are some more pointers that you should be aware of. You know that the incidence of cancer is more, not less. And certain kinds of cancers are really quite increasing. Who does not know people that haven't had cancer, or maybe you've had it yourself? This is no joke. Or Parkinson's, or multiple sclerosis, or diabetes, and so forth. We've got health problems, asthma. We've got lung problems. We've got problems in our environment. And even though I talk about, when I talk politics, wanting to maintain what we've achieved today, I'm not such a gung-ho person on everything technological and everything quote-unquote scientific or research, which I've done myself, in fact, but I'm not that gung-ho on it. I think we better slow down and start appreciating the world as it is, our body as it is. And as I tell you these things that I'm going to tell you, plastic in my hands, I just had the thought, too, that we all should be our own doctors. Even physicians often will tell you this, to take more responsibility. When you're younger, you tend to look here and there for how to live, what a philosophy is, what's health, and all that. But as you grow a bit, you start to realize that the best doctor, the most important one for your health and welfare, is yourself. In any domain, not just your physical health, your mental health, all of it. So much of what you have to achieve and do has to be done by you having a grounding in being about yourself and trying to understand how to live in your own best interest. So, let me start with these plastics, one sort of softer, one the very harder kind, a kind of semi-hard kind. All of them in so many products. The new car is full of plastic, computers, the synthetic materials we're wearing. Oh my goodness. In our foods, everything, there's so much of this. And you're going to be seeing more blatantly as time goes on that plastic is very bad for the human body. Our organs don't like it, our tongue doesn't like it, our kidneys doesn't like it, and so forth and so on. So say no to plastic first and foremost. Be aware of that. If you don't believe me, start reading about these things if you're so inclined. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the news as we speak, and it's been this way for 40, 50 years, getting more critical all the time. As I stand here before you today, the fact of the matter is, the world is dying. Okay? Maybe the world is dying just by virtue of entropy, as physicists would tell us. In other words, that things in the galaxy eventually, over eons, peter out. And as a poet has told us, they might do so with a whimper and not a bang. Or maybe with a bang, who knows? But the world is dying. Animals are dying. Animals are going extinct. Trees are going extinct. Huge fires, as was had in Australia, half the country, or a huge part, all the trees. Texas lost so many trees. You know, the world is dying. The Gulf of Mexico, we could go on and on. The world is dying. You're seeing birds that usually go in pairs or in flocks. You'll see single ones appearing here and there. You'll see a dead bee on the ground. Bees are becoming slowly, eradicated off the face of the earth, supposedly by some mystery, etc., etc. Fish, I just read today that our supply of fish around the world for our needs to eat and so on, especially countries that depend on fish, 85% depleted, 15% left. The world is dying. As we speak, recently I heard that on Cape Cod, whereas In the last several years, there's usually been dolphin stranding each year. But the numbers are like quadrupled this year. The number of dolphins in this ocean that is so sick, these cruise lines that are dumping, it's permissible for them to dump their sewage and their garbage. I think a new rule was just made about that. And all the submarines and the radiation, the radioactive elements on submarines and the accidents they get into that we don't even hear about, and all the other traffic and all the oil spills. Oh my Lord, the ocean and all the garbage. Up in Alaska, there's a huge amount of things like stoves and computers and keyboards and toilets, you name it, littering a certain area where it all lands on the coastline. And there's that huge garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean that's not only bigger than the state of Rhode Island or Texas, but deep as well. And that made of plastic and other things floating in the water, flotsam and jetsam, and birds diving and swallowing as they do by automatic ways of feeding. And then even giving it to their young, who then when they die of starvation are found to have all this flotsam and jetsam stuck through their alimentary canal. Oh yes, the Bible tells us if any of you out there are Christian or Jewish and favorable to the Bible, although this is from the Second Testament, the Christian part of the Bible, or the more Christian part of the Bible, I should say. Jesus is supposedly to have said that we are stewards of the earth. Well, I'll tell you what we are. We're destroyers of the earth. We're polluters of the earth. Now let's take a look at some of the ordinary things that you use or on a daily basis that you might not think twice about. And how many of you have experience with breathing problems, asthma, or know somebody who does? We're talking about things with fragrance in them. Fragrance. Colognes, dishwashing liquids, detergents, nail enamel removers, laundry bleach, hairspray, perfume, shaving cream, shampoo, soap, air freshener. These have fragrance. To me, the fragrance makes me sick. To many people, and to an increasing number of people, it is a case of them becoming sick when they smell these fragrances, and some people have even sued in the workplace where people are wearing perfumes that make them sick. I don't know how those suits have come out, but when I'm near any of these, especially when I'm near laundry detergents and softeners, don't use fabric softeners. What for? And that's going into the water, further putting something you shouldn't be drinking into the water. All water runs together, even if it's been treated and so on. So when I smell that strong so-called fragrance that's coming off of fabric softeners or the actual detergent, I'm really sickened. I have to escape it as best I can. And these things are so bad for your lungs because they go in and they sit on the alveoli and take the place of real oxygen. And probably, I'm not sure, I'd have to go look into how it really does work out chemically, but probably stay there or cause some bad processes. Okay? Certainly that people become intolerant of these things and allergic of these things, or even sick, or more sick. Now, 95% of the chemicals used in fragrances are synthetic compounds derived from petroleum. Should you be breathing things of petroleum? Should you be going up to the gas tank? Should you be breathing things of petroleum? Should you be going up to the gas tank and breathing it, or other petroleum, or go to a barrel of oil, or licking it, or anything like that, okay? So these are synthetic, and they include benzene derivatives. Benzene is the most carcinogenic molecular structure that you can have in this world. And many are benzene derivatives, aldehydes, and other toxins. They cause cancer. These things cause cancer, birth defects, central nervous system disorders, allergic reactions, respiratory illness, on and on. Every time I'm talking to you about these things that are in your environment, your health and welfare and safety environment, they all do multiple things. It's usually the list always, I mean, there's no way of saying what. They do so much harm. Central nervous system disorders like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, sudden infant death syndrome. Chloroform, the thing we put people to sleep with permanently if we give them enough, was found in tests of fabric softeners. A room containing air freshener had high levels of a chlorobenzene. I won't go through the whole chemical name. Carcinogen and ethanol. It was found in one study. Wonderful. So when you see those Glade things on TV and the women laughing together, you are breathing carcinogens and worse. 33 million Americans suffer from sinusitis. 12 million have asthma and growing every day. Deaths from asthma are increasing. And headaches. How many people suffer headaches? So beware of fragrances. You should try to not breathe around them. In other words, you shouldn't be taking them in. Air fresheners and so on. Sprays. Another thing to be watching are all the things we use just in our daily routine. Not thinking anything, just going about my daily routine. Non-stick pans. There's a new one on the market on TV called Green. Green non-stick pan. I have no idea what that's composed of. But generally speaking, all the non-stick pans have a coating with a long chemical name, for short, given the acronym PFOA. And when these pans are heated, small amounts of the particles and fumes from them go into the air. And it's been known that pet birds get sick when pans that are non-stick are being used on the stove, heated, and these gaseous and particulates are going into the air. In fact, sometimes birds can die from that. This coating and these particles going into the air cause cancer, organ damage, birth defects. The list is the same all the time. And these toxic chemicals that go into us as we breathe or touch or whatever we do are long-lived, and they continue to accumulate in the body. See, so when one event happens, like let's say a dramatic event, the World Trade Center, and you breathe all of that. By the way, I had a fire in my neighborhood about 2 months ago, and in an apartment just like a couple doors down. Oh my God! What toxic fumes! Even my neighbors, not just my own, judgment, who are not into these kinds of thoughts as I am, couldn't take how deadly and poisonous. What was in that apartment? Probably normal things like regular furniture, latest appliances, computer, whatever. Oh my goodness, how noxious the gas was. We were running for cover. It was thick smoke. It was sort of had a whitish, and so did World Trade Center. But what I'm saying now, too, is that one event like that fire that night, or even something as massive as the World Trade Center, sometimes it will knock you right dead there, but mostly you're not going to be dead right on the spot. But these things are accumulating and coming into you every which way, all day long, 24 hours a day. So you can never say, that gave me cancer, ha ha ha, too bad, in a legal system, how can you prove it? But the fact is, all of these things adding up, causing you harm. This is part 2 of a 3-part series about things we eat or use every day that cause our bodies harm. For cooking utensils, you should use stainless steel, cast iron, or enameled cast iron. And by the way, don't use aluminum. I think it's the most abundant metal on earth, a soft metal, and used very much in so many things and in cookware. And certainly releases some of that into the body, aluminum. And it's used, and the body can tolerate a little, but we're getting too much. And for sure, aluminum has been implicated in Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's, aluminum in the body passes through the blood-brain barrier and gets into the brain. So there's a good, when I heard about the correlation between Alzheimer's and aluminum, not just the correlation, but the finding that people have aluminum in their bodies, in their brains to a high extent with the Alzheimer's, even things like aluminum foil are off limits. We don't want aluminum around us.
That is to say, aluminum foil or pans as used in cooking.
As far as it possibly getting into our body. And guess what? Aluminum is in, I didn't know this, cake mixes, pickles, cheeses, sliced cheese, deodorants. Aluminum stops your sweating. I don't use deodorant. All right, I hear the jokes. You know, no, I just stay very clean. I do not want to put an aluminum. I don't even want to stop, you know, pores from secreting perspiration to the extent they're supposed to. A lot of what I'm saying here, too, when it comes to things we're putting in our body, doing to our body, has to do with balance, just like I said about aluminum. Some is okay, but too much, no, is toxic. And so a lot of this has to do with balance, and you've got to let your body operate the way it was meant to operate. We have technologically and so-called scientifically, or commercially would be a better word, come to a point of making all new kinds of foods and things that are not really right for us, because we as a species, we may have evolved, certainly we've evolved to some extent in some ways, physically and so forth, but we're nowhere near a match for the chemistry and technology that surrounds us. We're not evolved, we're not machines, we're not made of chromium and cadmium and so forth. No, we're just fragile human bodies. Another thing you will find often, look for this, you will find it in so many foods, hydrogenated oil. That is when hydrogen is put into oils like a canola oil or a vegetable oil.
Making the oil solid like margarine.
To increase the shelf life, it kind of, you know, holds food steady, if you will. And it increases the shelf life, keeps it therefore from deteriorating. And if you're familiar with Keebler's cookies, which I don't eat, but when I was younger, I must admit, very delicious things, Keebler's cookies with the elves. But you will notice about them the smoothness, like try one of those pecan. Now you're going to get one right now, or to get some substitute right now. But that smooth, luscious taste when you bite in. Hydrogenated oil, deadly for you. Also, happens to be that much maligned, rightfully so, thing known as trans fat. Very bad for your body, undeniably linked to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. So beware of hydrogenated oil. It's all around you. You'll be hard-pressed to find things with oil that aren't hydrogenated, especially if they're in a package, in a, you know, especially in packages, boxes, processed foods. Oh boy, here's another one. Artificial sweeteners. They go by such names as aspartame, Splenda, sucralose, xylitol, sorbitol, and so on. You know, I noticed long ago when I was in graduate school, I had a co-student with myself who was overweight, and she drank an awful lot of non-sugar soda. I forgot how that's referred to.
Diet soda. I used
it to think to myself, without any evidence or anything, I used to say, I think that diet soda is making you fat. And I think that that diet soda, in knowing her, oh, she drank a lot of it, was slowing her metabolism. What I have read since that time, just by happenstance, is that, in fact, according to studies, and be careful of studies, because they're paid for by the people who sell you the things they want to sell you, that artificial sweeteners increase hunger, slow your metabolism, give you bad gas, and store belly fat. And beware when your belly fat is storing, especially not over your whole body, but like your belly fat. So beware of artificial sweeteners. You should stay off the sodas altogether. You should drink some real juice, dilute it with water. You can stretch it further. Water. These are good things to drink. Soda's not a good thing to drink on many bases, diet or otherwise. Then, as many health experts are pointing out these days, when you're considering what to eat, and this is hard to do a lot of times, but you should really be eating whole food that you prepare yourself. Some people even say more the raw food, not even cooked food. Some people go that far. But some people advise, for your maximum health, and you're just a frail, fragile biological organism destined by its biology to only do so much and know so much. You can't break through and be some supernatural creature. And everything's relative. When people break through and they do things that we feel are superhuman, it's relative to the pitiful state of our own existence, which we should acknowledge and just be grateful for and do the best we can. But a good rule of thumb is, if it's in a box, if it's in a package, if it's in a can, don't eat it. Eat the whole food. Eat the fresh food. Eat the food that you make for yourself. Have you ever noticed how many animals end up with tumors? They end up with tumors and cancers and die after years of eating canned food. And the lining of the cans is bad for you because it leaches not only what chemistry is in there, but also one of the chemistries in there is that component that's being talked about a lot lately, BPA, bisphenol A, which is an endocrine disruptor. What is an endocrine disruptor? Something that mimics or acts very much and can go through the same pathways as the many different hormones in your body, except in irregular and damaging ways, i.e., can anyone say, cancer? When people start marching for the Cancer Society to put up all the things that have been proven to be carcinogenic, that we put in our bodies, wear on our bodies, put close to our bodies, or live around, then we'll know we have a Cancer Society. And we won't need to be walking for cancer. We'll need to be saying, get rid of the carcinogens. But we won't do this by diktat. We won't do this by someone from above forcing us. We will do this as an aware and informed society that talks and is conscious and, thinks about it, and we all figure out how we're going to do this. Because everybody's going to have to take the hit. We don't want to just hit different people unfairly and the rest not. We'll all be part of the solution. Oh, what an ideal thought. Health experts say, look at the number of ingredients. Did you ever look on the number of ingredients on an animal food can? Oh my goodness, everything but the kitchen sink, as the saying goes. The more ingredients, the less healthy the food. And the thing that's in there most is the one that has to be put first in the ingredients. So if what you think you're buying is way down on that long list, then you're really in trouble. But people advise, don't buy things that have more than 5 ingredients in them. It's a good rule of thumb. And it should be that the thing you think you're buying, like cheese. Did you know cheese has a lot of hydrogenated oil in it? Like a Kraft cheese, for example? You didn't know that, did you? Sugar, sugar, sugar.
Sugar comes in various forms, from sugar cane, corn, beets, fruit, honey, even milk, and so on. And carbohydrates in general. I'm referring here to the substances we commonly refer to as sugar and sweet.
What happens when you eat sugar? Is it just sugar per se, or is it the amount? It's back to this balance issue. Everything is a matter of balance. Some poisons to us are so toxic, even an infinitesimally small amount is too much. But relatively speaking, all things being equal, it's a matter of how much we eat sugar. And in this day and age, so many products contain sugar that we're not even aware of, like ketchup, for example, and I don't know. It's in pickles, it's in breads, you name it. And so we're getting an overabundance of sugar into our diet, along with other carbohydrates.
All carbohydrates contain amounts of molecular sugar energy as well.
Like that white bread, which is very bad for you, especially that white bread that, you know, if you go like this, you can make it into a ball. It's so squishy, that kind of white bread. But anyway, rye bread is preferable to any white bread whatsoever as far as your health goes. But so we're eating all these carbohydrates way overdone than people did before when they scrounged, you know, the earth for things natural or ate other animals and so forth. We're eating way more things that our body is not evolved to handle. We'd be some very weird creatures indeed if it were, compared to what we are now. So you eat the sugar, and you eat it and eat it. It's coming in from all directions, even ones you don't know about that aren't particularly sweet. And it increases the insulin flowing in our blood. And we're having too much sugar, and we need a place to put it. The storage of fat is happening too, because not all of it can be used.
For whatever energy needs our body needs at any given time.
And the more we add the sugar to our bodies, knowingly or unknowingly, sometimes in certain kinds, the most kind of diabetes, the cells can get like not receptive to
insulin
anymore. It's out of whack. It's out of balance. So the insulin doesn't work the way it should, and belly fat is being stored up, and glucose.
Glucose being the term for sugar as measured in the blood and the energy for the body from carbohydrate foods that contain sugar naturally or have added sugar.
Is becoming too much in the body. What happens is this leads to the bad kind of cholesterol being more in the body, the good kind of cholesterol being less, our weight goes up, we have an increased chance of diabetes, where it's very difficult to explain all the steps, all the chemistry that goes into what happens, and even that is not completely known. But what is known is that the more you have a sugar overload, the more you have insulin being made, and the more it's got to go somewhere, but sometimes that whole thing breaks down because the whole system is out of balance. And then you're prey to all these kinds of things happening to you. The list is very long of what can happen from eating so very much sugar. Your vision could be less good. And of course it is true that many children become terribly hyperactive even from a small amount of sugar. I don't think all children are affected the same way, but it's hardly good to be pacifying children with sugar sweets and using it as a reward, or just giving them unbridled access to sugar. What a way to start life. It's not the sugar per se, it's the amount of sugar. So be very aware that sugar shouldn't be out of balance for you, and you shouldn't be seeing yourself getting, particularly a body that has, like, in the middle belly part, increasing fat storage and increasing fat. And salt. Salt. You don't need to salt your food. Get off of salt. There's so much salt in everything as it is already, especially if you buy the packaged and canned foods and so on. And the list on salt is very long too, some of it being high blood pressure and so forth, and hardening of the arteries, so to speak, arteriosclerosis, etc., etc.
This is part 3 of a 3-part series about things we eat or use every day that cause our bodies harm.
Okay. Then we have this chemical triclosan. Again, hydrocarbon, a chlorinated hydrocarbon. In other words, from the hydrocarbon, so-called petroleum. It's the thing that's in these antibacterial soaps. There might be antibacterial cleansers now, and so forth. And in the hospitals and in the nursing homes, people, hit the triclosan or the soap. It's got more than that in it. And, they wipe their hands. They don't wash them, and they go on to different things. Now, it's a known fact that the triclosan cannot control all germs. I don't think it's effective to MRSA, for example, which is very much, and I doubt it's effective to C. diff, which is very much running rampant in medical facilities where people are being cared for and so on, especially hospitals. And then they come back to nursing homes with it. C. diff is rampant. You can die from that. That's when you have diarrhea that won't stop. And so anyway, so they're wiping these, and then they're going around and touching their hands everywhere. But so are all the germs dead is one thing. And secondly, it's been said that the only way to really clean your hands is with soap and water, and to do it, so many rubs, and some people advocate to do it twice and so forth. I would advocate to use hot water to the friction to wash away what could be on your hands. The thing about triclosan is that, number one, it can cause a skin irritation to you or a rash. And number two, it can make us antibiotic resistant because it kills a gene in bacteria. So by doing this kind of performance of using it all the time and having it kill bacteria, it can make us less able to resist bacteria and antibiotic treatment against them. And another thing about it is most awful is that when water and the triclosan meet each other, which they eventually do, because eventually the hands get washed, and water, and then when sunlight combines with that, like from a water treatment plant or where the water flows and it's exposed to sunlight, or daylight I should say, then you've got dioxins, and dioxins are deadly to human life and welfare. And when water goes through these water treatment plants, too, one of the things that is not removed, among many others, is triclosan. And so there it is, making its way into the waterways, into where it's exposed to light, and creating dioxins, which are so deadly. And what do dioxins do? They affect reproduction, development, cause pathology, the immune system, the hormonal system, and of course, they cause cancer. So the way to wash your hands, and it's now even being recommended in medical circles, is with soap and water. That's how you best effectively get so-called germs off your hands. Okay, so recently we've had a very good, well, not recently, but this whole season we've had a very good winter in the Northeast. We haven't had snow, really. We haven't had really cold temperatures, maybe 1 or 2 times. It's been in fact, it's been beautiful many days. It's been like spring. And I say, because people like to talk about the weather, so you chat with people, and I say, to be sociable and so on, that, yeah, if this is how winter's going to be, I would like winter. I think I would like to have winter, maybe even more than summer. But really inside, even though that's true on a certain level, sort of a superficial level, my other self that thinks about things says, oh my God, and I think people are slow to realize this, thinks, oh my God, what will happen if it now starts to be cold in the hot times, or colder than it's supposed to be, or too much rain? I mean, these irregularities I've been speaking out against for 30 and 40 years. What will happen If this irregularity happens during the food growing season, can you see the squeeze on food? Where the crops won't grow or the vegetables are so very small. And the price is going higher and a squeeze. It's already happening in many countries. You think we can't see famine in our own time? You think we can't see people squeezed out of being able to buy the ordinary foods they're used to buying? Very, very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason of our weather, don't go for cap and trade and all that nonsense out of Washington. That's just another thing for certain people to control and make money. Don't go along with that. But do recognize that all the things we're putting into our environment on a massive scale, much more deadly even than the things I'm talking about here, night and day, planes polluting the airs and so forth. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it's all these things we're doing that we have to get conscious of. And it is getting too late. And the world is dying. And no, I don't go along with Al Gore, who is heavily invested to reap phenomenal profit, were his plans for what should happen to go through. I used to like Al Gore somewhat. I voted for him for president whenever that was. He never spoke for the environment when he ran for president. It was, nobody would, corporations wouldn't give him the money if he did. So we've got to remember, too, we're up against corporations. Not corporations as evil things exactly but corporation as a way of organizing human life. And it's a pretty lousy way, and it ends up being a one-sided street. But that is not to go and fault them. That is just to be discussing what the true contingencies are in our life instead of trying to escape them and everybody becoming depressed and living off of antidepressants. And by the way, get your children, if you don't have a means to put them to college, which is a very iffy proposition these days on many bases, have them, if you could ever find, I don't know how this could be done, but were I a parent, I would try, find a way to work on a farm, an organic farm, and to learn. This is not menial labor. Farmers have to be very astute, the independent farmer, a passing breed these days. But it will come back to that. It will of necessity come back to that. And this would be a wonderful, life-fulfilling kind of existence for a young person to be exposed to. Okay, finally, I want to say, which I haven't been doing much about, and it's been my most awful thing that I'm not doing enough about, so shame on me, because I'm not walking the walk as much as I talk the talk. But I want to speak for animals. Number one, our environment and our illnesses and every other bad thing happening to us, including waiting in long lines on the highway to get home, in bumper-to-bumper traffic, etc. The environment is our number one crisis. It's the most emergency thing. No cap and trade is not the solution. It's a horrible thing. I can't get into why right now. Forget that. What we've got to start doing as a society is working on how all these things are killing us, killing the planet, and also making our lives hellish. But the true most awful thing, because humans deserve, do they not, what they perpetrate? If they're not going to be smart enough to know better, if they're not going to care, if they're going to be ignorant, and if they're going to do bad things to Mother Earth. But the truly most horrible thing, not counting that the environment is so urgent, is what we do to animals. I had a person give an animal lover, I was at an event, they gave him a present that showed, I know a lot of people will laugh that are listening, think this is funny. It showed roadkill with a tire mark on it, like a piece of rubber, as a joke, I didn't think that was funny, although I know I can't be one of these uptights like some of the people we know leading the way in this progressive revolution where anything you say, oh, they're too sensitive to. So you've got to be a little more lenient about it. But we are so awful to animals, and how we could not think that these animals with eyes and ears or whatever, even if it's a snake or a worm, how they would not know enough to do what they do and have a sentience and feel, and at least as far as is practicable, be allowed to live and fulfill their destinies without interference and torture and abuse from human life. How horrible and immoral it is. And I think when we get to heaven, to use a kind of metaphor, when we stand before God in St. Peter, to use a metaphor, not to use religion, but a way of speaking, will God not say, did you put electrodes into the brains of cats? Did you infect a cat and let him lie there for 8 weeks while you drew tissue samples and blood samples? Did you not cause suffering beyond anything we've ever could imagine? Can you open up the laboratory doors? Can you expose what people who get honors, scientific honors, are doing to animals, and the way we just run them over? Or I had 3 deer come through my yard in a place which there's nowhere to have deer anywhere around there. 3 fully grown deer. It is so heartbreaking that if you really let yourself think about it, you can't take one step more. So you have to deny it. It is sadistic. It is sadistic to do things to animals that you would not do to yourself. And so I will end on one of thousands and hundreds around the world things, and in this country and in other countries, being done to animals. Oh my God. What, you think them cramped in a cage all day, their legs not bending and everything, and you sticking them with a needle and hearing your footsteps and they're peeing because they're terrified? You think that's okay? Here's one. McDonald's supplier of eggs. They dropped their supplier because this is what a camera found at the farms where the eggs were being laid. The hens were crammed into wire cages. The workers were burning off the beaks of young chicks and throwing them in the cages, burning them and throwing them, grabbing them by their throats and ramming them into the cages. Rotting and decomposed birds were still in the cages with the live ones that were laying eggs. And a worker was swinging a bird around in the air while her legs were caught in a grabbing device. Another one shoved a bird into the pocket of another employee. The chicks had open wounds, torn beaks, and live chicks thrown into plastic bags and suffocated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are monsters. We're not even human. We are monsters. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
This has been part 3 of a 3-part series about things we eat or use every day that cause our bodies harm. Please tune in for another segment in the following week. Thank you. Stay tuned for a Nancy dance after the credits and a 2-minute message for animals.
Cosmic powwow, the cosmic powwow, cosmic powwow.
Stay tuned for Nancy dancing after 2 minutes for animals. Thank you.
There